So there are two expressions for understanding what someone is saying. Not two. There are many expressions for understanding what someone is saying. I wrote down two. Things like I catch your drift or I get the picture, you know, those little idioms that people use. And a friend of mine, I'm sorry, I'm just a little paranoid. All right, I'm going to release my paranoia. A buddy of mine would say, I smell what you're stepping in. It was clear, it's a little visual, but... and I share this expression because when I was researching the talk this week and I was Googling and looking around for images and phrases, when I put stepping in into Google, I got a lot of really negative photos of people stepping in tar, stepping in gum, stepping in poop. And I thought, well, what an interestingly negative take on that expression. Because to me, stepping in means like getting involved, you know, getting into life. It's like the hokey pokey. You know, you have to put something in first. And so I'm guessing that the phrase stepping up is more like common for people when they're getting involved in stuff. They step up to get into a project or an activity, or you step up to protest or to make a difference. And so, but, you know, getting back to my perspective, I think that stepping in sounds much more inviting than stepping up. Or it could be the fact that I really hate stairs. You know, it's hard to say. I just feel like when we step into life, we're committing to it. We're taking a chance. We're putting our whole selves in. And that's the last hokey pokey reference that I will use today, I promise. I was really going to go there, but I'm not. So, and so stepping in applies to everything: our work environment, our relationships, a project, an artistic endeavor, a workout plan, a vision to travel to someplace new or visit one we've already been and maybe go deeper. I'm sure each of us could think of one, two, maybe several examples of what stepping in would mean. And it can happen at any time. We can step in any time. There's no too late or I missed my chance for stepping in. None of that. I think though it's easy to feel that way. It's easy to feel like, you know, it's too late for me to step in. It's too easy to surrender to defeat. And I wonder why that is. And I think maybe it's because we forget that in each and every moment that we are still alive, we're actually stepping in. Each and every moment of our conscious presence, we're already stepping in somehow, somewhere, and in some way. I saw this, and I love it. Eckhart Tolle says, the only thing that is ultimately real about your journey is the step you are taking at this moment. That's all there ever is. And so with that quote in mind, I was thinking, what is it that causes us to feel stalled or like that we're not diving in, let alone stepping in? And I've got a theory. Little L life doesn't always cooperate with our passions and our inspirations. And that fact about little L life is a little R reality that we need to deal with to a degree. And to accept to a degree. Now, before anybody gets all up at me, I do believe the law of attraction exists. I do. I also know that if I use my savings to go to a CZ, my rent here will not get paid, at least not by me. I also understand that even though I'm not a big fan of the IRS, if I used my savings to record a new CD, instead of paying them the money that they think I owe them, I'll be in big T trouble. So the question hangs. How do we step fully in with commitment in our everyday little L life? Okay, my inspiration when I hear the phrase stepping into life immediately goes to the movie Harold and Maude. Now, aside from those who are of the age of single digits, has anyone in this room not seen this movie? Oh my Lord, people. We're going to have to show it. If we don't, just see it. It's probably free on YouTube by now. It's like 1972 or something. You must see it. It's a classic, great film about life and about committing to life and committing to being in life more than just having a life. And in one of the scenes, Harold, who is 19, it's actually the scene up top where they're enjoying a little hookah. Harold, who is 19, is sharing with Maud some of the pain that he feels, his loneliness and his emptiness, and why he keeps acting out in his unique and special ways. And he expresses that he enjoys being dead. And Maud, who is 79, almost 80, responds, "A lot of people enjoy being dead, but they're not dead, really. They're just backing away from life. Reach out, take a chance, get hurt even, but play as well as you can. Go, team, go. Give me an L, give me an I, give me a V, give me an E, L-I-V-E, live. Otherwise, you got nothing to talk about in the locker room." And this character that Ruth Gordon brings to life always reminds me that as long as I wake up and my heart is beating and I am breathing, I still have the opportunity to step in. And by not stepping in, I am actually depriving spirit the opportunity to live through me. Okay, the natural progression of thought after that statement is, oh dear God, that's a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of responsibility. What am I supposed to do to not deprive spirit the opportunity to live through me? Well, it means we're supposed to show up. That's it. It doesn't mean we have to be the next Nelson Mandela or Gloria Steinem or have to run for office or invent a vaccine or something. We tend to think that we want to step in and do something that's like earth-shattering and life-changing for everybody. That's not it. I think this comes close. It's not a question of repeating spiritually what others have done before us, for our adventure begins beyond that. It is a question of a new creation, entirely new, with all the unforeseen events, the risks, the hazards it entails. A real adventure whose goal is certain victory, but the road to which is unknown and must be traced out step by step in the unexplored. Something that has never been in this present universe and that will never be again in the same way. If that interests you, well, let us embark. Embarking on that journey can look like this. This past Friday, I was at Costco, and I was in line, and I noticed that the man in front of me, who was only buying like 2 items, was totally chatting up the cashier. And he was being friendly with her, and before he left, he thanked her by name. And I thought, wow, he's a nice guy. And I guess that means I'm off the hook, and I don't need to be chatty because he took care of that for me. And I thought I could just, lower my head and get on through. But then Jean, the cashier, looked at me and smiled. And I realized that I needed to step in. And I needed to be there for her and with her. And we had a great chat. And both of our days improved. That is the creation of a moment of stepping in. It's doing something maybe not done before, maybe done before, but done differently. It's a unique moment. So voting is stepping in. Speaking up for the vulnerable is stepping in. Forgiving is stepping in. And for some of us, agreeing to get out of bed each morning and put on pants or a dress is stepping in. It's just one small example. And there's no question that, it just did it. Yeah. The lights keep blinking and winking at me. They're flirting. No one questions that life is challenging. Dan Millman, the author of Way of the Peaceful Warrior, calls Earth the toughest school there is. And of course, there are degrees of difficulty that we're all aware of. Certainly, each one of us in this room, our lives are easier than people across the globe who are struggling, or across the country, who are struggling for water and food and shelter. The phrase first world problem pops up quite a bit when we're scrolling through social media. And at the same time, that doesn't disqualify the experience that we're all having. So whether it's emotional or physical, financial, whatever our challenge is, it can feel really real. And then again, are they as real as we think? This picture says the obstacle is the path. Maybe there are no obstacles. Maybe there is nothing holding us back. Maybe all of this is an illusion and we're not stepping into our lives completely based on some matrix-induced belief that the obstacle is real. If the obstacle is the path, then that's where we step in. We step right into the obstacle. Ministerial disclosure time. I've been writing a book for several years. For me, it's kind of like running a marathon, except that I'm taking a year to run each mile. And I know that my call is to step in and finish this book. And yet the story I'm writing is my own, and it keeps changing. And so that becomes a great excuse for not stepping in. I have great excuses for not stepping in. I work a lot. That's number one. I'm actually writing every week. I write talks for Spirit Stone, and I write chapels for the kids, and I journal. So really, my writing quota is being used up by other writing projects. Excuse number two. Excuse number three, possible. I don't have enough time to write. That's a biggie. It's kind of true and not true. I use it an awful lot. And excuse number four, when I'm not working, I need to check out and not think. Okay, that actually is true because the nature of the work that I do is really mind-consuming, and so I do like to come home and check out. However, I could check out for 45 minutes and not for 4 hours. Yeah, it's an excuse. So my point here, and I swear there really is a point here, is that the things that we let get in our way are part of the way. The things we let get in our way are part of the way. Just want to make sure I got that out clearly. So Andrew Harvey wrote in The Direct Path, one of the truths that all mystics recognize is that the divine is looking for us with far greater intensity than we are looking for it. As the Prophet Muhammad says in one of his sacred sayings, take one step toward God and God will take 1,000 steps toward you. Search sincerely for a higher vision, and the divine will open for you a door into its and your essential truth. You will be given whatever is needed to invite you forward. How do I know I'm supposed to write this book? I know because Spirit, the universe, is constantly telling me that I'm supposed to be writing this book. It's constantly putting people and opportunities and obstacles and ways to work with and through the obstacles right in front of my face, all of the time. Mary Oliver wrote, 10 times a day, something happens to me like this. Some strengthening throb of amazement, some good, sweet, empathic ping and swell. This is the first, wildest, and wisest thing I know, that the soul exists and is built entirely out of attentiveness. And for me, sometimes it's not so attentiveness, because sometimes it feels like the universe puts words right into my mouth, kind of like Moses. I'll say to somebody, they'll say, well, what have you been doing? And I'll say, I'm writing a book. Even when I don't consciously intend to say that out loud. It will just come out of my mouth. And then when that happens, when I do that, I feel like I'm taking one step closer to it. And it's taking 1,000 steps closer to me. So the doorway's opened. It's time that I stepped in and through it. So I feel like this all connects back to purpose. What is our purpose? Don't worry, I'm not going to try to tackle that here this morning. But what is our purpose? Do we know? I mean, if someone told us, would we believe them? If Spirit guided us right to our purpose, would we trust that guidance? I've brought this up before. Vincent van Gogh wanted to be a pastor, not a painter. He wanted to be a pastor. He wanted to serve God. And when I found this quote, I was so excited because it's from April 16th, which is like this past week, but in 1887. And he wrote this: "There is so much expressed in this peculiar landscape and surrounding. It seems to say, 'Be of good courage, fear not.' Oh, might I be shown the way to devote my life more completely to the service of God and the gospel. I keep praying for it, and I think I shall be heard. I say it in all humility. Humanly speaking, one would say it cannot happen, but when I think seriously about it and penetrate under the surface of what is impossible to man, then my soul is in communion with God, for it is possible to him who speaks and it is done, who commands and it stands fast. If I might only succeed in this, if that heavy depression because everything I undertook failed might be taken from me, and if there might be given to me both the opportunity and the strength needed to come to full development and to persevere in that course for which my father and I would thank the Lord so fervently." And I say, thank goodness that didn't happen. Thank goodness that wasn't his purpose. Because if it did happen, these paintings might not exist. It was out of his passion and his sense of failure as a pastor that this happened. The perceived obstacle in his path actually helped his path become what it needed to be. So as I thought about this, it brought me again to the question, how do we know if we are stepping in on the right path for our lives? Do we ever know? Vincent didn't. He didn't sell a single painting in his lifetime, not one in his lifetime. I don't know if any of you guys are Doctor Who fans. I'm not a Doctor Who fan, but my sister recently sent me a clip from an episode where Doctor Who brings Vincent to modern day and brings him to a museum where his paintings are hanging on the wall. And then within earshot, Doctor Who asks the curator what he thinks of Vincent's work. And he starts talking about that he's the greatest painter of all time, that he did things that no one ever saw before, that his passion, and he's talking, and the actor who plays Vincent van Gogh is absolutely radiantly beautiful, and tears just streaming down his face. And Doctor Who asks him, he's like, "Are you okay?" And he says, "These are tears of joy." It's like that moment. I wish we could all have moments like that where we finally hear, "This, you were meant to do this, and it's beautiful what you did." So how could Vincent ever know at that time that when he stepped into his art as like a sort of backup career, when he started making his art, how would he know what it would be today? He couldn't, and he didn't. So then how do we know in each moment that we're on the path of highest good for our lives? How do I know I'm supposed to write this book? And as all those questions come swirling around me, and just when I'm about to like spiral out of control, thank goodness for the universe again, because it shows up with the piece of wisdom that I needed to see or read or hear. It always just shows up. And as I was typing all those questions and thinking, I need a break because this is getting huge, ping, I get this email from a friend and says, "I think you should read this. I think this is a great quote." And it's right on the money. On a spiritual level, we know we are called to be something for all of existence, however humble it might be. This calling is like a vital seed. It waits inside sometimes for decades, and it needs our engagement in order to be lived. Hints about this calling come to us throughout life, though we often ignore them. We do not realize that these tiny signals point to something larger, a possibility that is unique to us and ours to develop. We must not think of these nudges as irrelevant nonsense. They ask us to feel, to engage, and to commit to action on behalf of our essence. It is from these depths that we can create beauty and meaning where there was none before. When our seed longings are nudged and given encouragement, we can feel how everything inside wants to say yes. Do the thing. Take the walk. Embrace the obstacle. Write the book. And trust in all of it as we step in. Let's pray a little. It was a new moon last night, and the new moon signifies change and possibility, new experiences, stepping into things that are going to unfold and manifest. How perfectly timed. There are no accidents. Even the moon is telling us to step in. And so now it's time for us to simply be, to simply allow, to simply get out of our way and let that part of us inside that knows what we need to know, let it take charge. Let our egos take a rest. Let our control issues take a rest. And let all of what's within us, our true essence, that seed of whatever it is we want, let it be heard and seen, given light, given nourishment, and allow it to manifest itself. There is so much change going on in people's lives that I know, and in the world as a whole. There's so much awakening. There's so many opportunities to grow and to learn and to step in. So whether it's simply waking up and engaging with the world every day, to getting more involved in whatever it is that we need to get more involved in, all along that continuum, no judgment, no limitations. Do whatever it is that we are called to do. And know that we are fully supported by a universe that's saying yes, yes, yes. And so I give thanks. Amen. Ashe.